Greetings, everyone, and welcome to today's Halloween horror review. Well, we had a couple of, back-to-back heavy hitters of horror, which was pretty cool. We had George Romero with Martin, and then, of course, Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street on Blu-ray. Good stuff, so I'm actually quite eager to see what Sam has picked out for us today. I said I'm quite eager to find out what Sam has picked out for us today. Ah, there we go. Must have caught him napping. All right, let's head down to the crypt and see what we got for today. Hey Sam, how's it going? Boy, your last few picks have been pretty darn good, I gotta say. I mean, first we had some Romero, then we had Wes Craven's ultimate movie of all time, Nightmare on Elm Street on Blu-ray, no less. Great stuff. So I'm actually quite anxious to see what have you got for us today. Oh yeah. Now this is interesting. This is also one that a lot of people probably haven't seen. As you know, I'm a huge Dario Argento fan. I did have pretty much his entire early library up to 2000 or so on DVD. I've since sold them all, and I'm looking to upgrade a lot of them to Blu-ray. But in the meantime, this is one that is not available on Blu-ray yet, and it's also one of his, I think, less appreciated ones and less seen ones. I'm, of course, talking about his first full-blown American film production. Previously, he'd done all his films in Italy. Trauma. And I guess I'll save the rest for the review. Dario Argento's Trauma. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Dario Argento's Trauma. Just make sure I don't get too much clear. Okay. Dario Argento's Trauma. Well, as I mentioned down in the crypt, this was Dario's very first all-American production. Prior to that, of course, all his films have been done in Italy. I have talked about Argento films before, by the way. I will put links to a few of my previous ones down in the description for you. I also mentioned in the crypt that I sold all of my old Argento films. Well, I didn't quite sell all of them. I do, of course, still have Suspiria, the limited collector's edition. Very nice indeed. A prized part of my collection. And I also still have the Opera collector's edition as well, both of which I have done videos about. But we're here to talk about Trauma. Now, I've had Trauma basically as long as I've had all the other Argentos. I just hung on to it because I hadn't got around to watching it yet. Plus, it's not available on Blu-ray, so there's really no incentive for me to sell it because I'd just be getting it again. But I put off watching it for a very long time because I kept hearing nothing but bad things about it. It was like, oh, he should have stayed in Italy and kept doing his films there. And it's like, oh, it's one of his worst films ever, and blah, 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 blah. So I just kind of kept putting off watching it. So I thought, well, it's one of the few I haven't seen, so why don't I just watch it? So I added it to the Halloween repertoire. And after seeing it, I gotta say, what's everyone's problem? Yeah, there's a couple things in it where you have to kind of suspend disbelief, but since when are there not things where you need to suspend disbelief in Argento films? I mean, seriously. I actually really liked it, and I don't care who knows it, because to me, it's the first, sort of recent Argento film I've seen that really seems to capture the old school Giallo flavor, Because essentially what you have here is a murder mystery where people are mysteriously being decapitated. So you have like a decapitation killers. There's just like tons of decapitations in this. And I should mention the special effects are by none other than Tom Savini himself. So like you got Dario and Savini, two of the big legends of the horror genre right there. So how is this a bad thing exactly? In terms of the cast, you've got Piper Laurie from Twin Peaks fame. You've got Brad Dourif from everything. Who else have you got? You of course got Asia Argento and a few other actors whose names don't ring bells right off the top of my head, but you will recognize quite a few faces in this. So, yeah, so anyway, you got this nice little murder mystery, classic Giallo kind of setup. You got the main character who's kind of, out of his element, trying to be the amateur sleuth and figure out what's going on. And you have the lovely Asia Argento, and yes, you do get to see her topless in one scene, because I know all the boys out there love that. But there's an interesting kind of side element to this, which really doesn't have much to do with the main story. It's just kind of a character aspect. Asia Argento plays a girl who is anorexic and has essentially escaped from a mental institution. And there's connections between her story and the murder mystery story as well, but to get into that would spoil the surprise, so I won't do that. But anyway, one of the big aspects of her character is that she's anorexic. And, well, apparently, let me skip ahead a little bit. If we go right to the tail end of the end credits. Now, the end credits doesn't give away anything in the story, don't worry. I'm not going to give you any spoilers in this one, so don't worry. In the end credits, there's, the camera just kind of pans by this group playing reggae music, and it seems kind of out of place. But apparently, that little thing with the reggae band actually connects to an earlier scene which was cut out. And you can see that earlier scene in the deleted scenes on the DVD. So, anyway, it passes by this reggae band and then sort of focuses in on this girl that is dancing to the reggae band, just kind of, swaying and just feeling the music and stuff and just kind of chilling out. And it seems kind of almost surreal, because as the girl is dancing, the light slowly comes up and she's in this almost angelic light just as the credits are rolling by on the side. And throughout the entire credits, she's just dancing away, and it's very, kind of relaxing. But apparently, who this girl was Anna Argento, who's Asia's sister. And Anna Argento was a large part of the inspiration for Asia's character in this film, because Anna actually did suffer from anorexia. And it was essentially Asia and Dario's tribute to her, and them honoring her and stuff like that, and even going so far as to give her a small cameo in the film, which was really nice, and it was meant to be a very touching tribute to her, and just sort of their way of saying, hey, we care about you, And so it essentially started as a little tribute. Sadly, the following year, Anna actually took her own life. So what started as a tribute at the end of this film kind of has ended up being a memorial of a sort. So kind of a morbid twist to the end of the movie. I mean, how she was originally with the inspiration for Asia's character, and even, given the little cameo, but sadly, I guess just her own personal problems were too much to bear, and despite the support of her family, just couldn't take it anymore. So a sad, tragic, and somewhat morbid twist to the end of the film there. But I wanted to mention that because she was a large inspiration for Asia's character in that, and that it's interesting to note that sort of little behind the scenes tragedy that ties into it. Now, as for the film itself, as I say, it does kind of follow the classic Giallo pattern, where you have the murder mystery, the amateur sleuth, and the twist ending where you find out who the killer is and what their motivation was and stuff like that. And I will go out on a limb and say that I actually feel that the twist in this actually works better than some other Giallo films I've seen. Like, for example, what was the one I was thinking of? Opera. I love Opera. I think it's a great, effective film. However, the twist of who the murderer is and what his motivation is kind of convoluted. Ditto certain aspects of Tenebrae. But you just kind of go along with it in those cases, like, oh, okay, yeah, that guy's the killer. But in a lot of Giallo films that I've seen, it almost seems arbitrary. It's like, okay, the standard formula is we have to have a twist about who the killer is, so you're the killer. And it's like, okay, that guy's the killer, apparently. Awesome. Why exactly? I don't know, just because they needed somebody to be the killer. And that's what it feels like a lot of the time. It's not always like that. Argento tends to be a little classier about things like that and actually does, get a good reason for everything to be the way it is. But, and that said, in Trauma, I think the twist works very well. And there's some red herrings along the way, so they do keep you guessing. So it's structured very well in that respect, in that there's a few people that you could potentially see being the killer, and who it finally does turn out to be. You don't necessarily see coming. You might have suspected maybe, but you don't see it coming for the most part. And when you find out the full story behind why this person was the killer, you're just like, wow. It is really genuinely shocking in more ways than one, which you'll understand if you see the film. But ultimately, a very satisfying Giallo film, I think, and terribly underrated. My only complaint, if anything else, is that Brad Dourif is terribly underused. He practically gets top billing on the packaging, which you'll see in a moment when we take a closer look at it. But he's literally in the film for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, little more than a couple of scenes, and granted they're very memorable scenes, but I love Brad Dourif. I think he's a fantastic actor, and he plays those crazy edgy characters better than pretty much anybody. But he just doesn't get a lot of time. I guess maybe he was expensive. I don't know, but he's great for the brief time he's on screen. So enjoy Brad Dourif while he lasts. So in short, I would definitely recommend Trauma. I think it's a great film. I really don't know what everybody's problem is with it and why it gets slammed so much. I think it is definitely worthy of Dario's repertoire. You get some people on IMDb and stuff just saying like, "Oh my God, Dario, stop making films. All your new stuff is crap." And it's like, if you don't like his new stuff, just don't watch it. He's not going to stop making films because some jackass on an internet message board said so. Come on. The man obviously enjoys making films, and it's his passion and his way of expressing things, and he's going to keep making films until he dies. That's just something you're going to have to learn to accept and move on. And I don't think all of his new stuff is crap. I enjoyed Trauma. I even enjoyed The Card Player. I thought The Card Player was a little over the top at points, but overall I enjoyed it. To me, The Card Player was like what Fear.com should have been, but wasn't. It's like sort of take Fear.com, but take out the stupid supernatural elements that are just blatantly ripped off from The Ring, and you have The Card Player, but The Card Player is done a lot more stylishly, I think. I like that one a lot. But I'm just starting to go on about Argento's entire career. So we're going to stop here. And let's take a brief look at the packaging. And we'll just come back here and say goodbye.
I'll read it like the guy who does the Disney trailers. From Master of Horror Dario Argento. Trauma. A new dimension of fear. Bring the whole family. Anyway, so there's the spine. And there's the back. I actually have a fair amount of special features on here, which of course I'm covering in the review, but yeah, pretty cool. Brad Dourif, for all the 5 minutes he's in the movie. Yeah, I love how he gets pretty much top billing, yet he's only in it for a few minutes. And then inside we actually do have an insert, which is quite nice. And then basically the artwork on the cover just sort of partly duplicated on the disc. So if we take a look at the insert here, I find a lot of the Argento films do come with inserts. A little bit of damage there, that's unfortunate, but sometimes unavoidable. And then on the back we just have the credits. And I love how, or not the credits, the track listing. And I love how the track listing really doesn't tell you anything about the movie. So even if you read the titles will make sense if you've seen it, but if you haven't seen it, you won't really be spoiled. But with a mystery film like this, I tend to avoid the track listings anyway, just in case they inadvertently give something away. So anyway, there you go. The packaging and innards of trauma.
And there you have it. Pretty straightforward. And I guess since I mentioned the extras, I should tell you what the extras are. So we got the extras here. Features, widescreen presentation, 2.35 to 1, enhanced for 16 by 9 TVs. It doesn't say that it's a special feature, just that that's one of the features, is that it's featured in anamorphic widescreen. I guess I can live with that. Featurette, Love, Death, and Trauma. Audio commentary with author Alan Jones. On set with Tom Savini. The On Set with Tom Savini feature is quite fun because you actually get to see him working on a lot of the decapitation effects and stuff like that. It's very cool. And they have some fun with that. And some practical jokes that he plays on his staff and stuff. He looks like he's a really fun guy to work with. No, that's not sarcastic. He does genuinely look like a fun guy to work with. Love, Death, and Trauma, the featurette gives you a lot of insight into the making of it and such. For some reason, Argento keeps referring to Anna as his niece, so I don't know if he was like fully her father or maybe stepfather or something. I don't know. I don't know what the specific blood relation between Anna and Asia were. I mean, Asia refers to her as her sister. Argento refers to Anna as his niece. At least in the translation of the of the documentary. I don't know, so it may have just been a bad translation. But anyway, then you got some deleted scenes, which I mentioned earlier, poster and still gallery, theatrical trailer, and a Dario Argento biography. So overall, you got actually a pretty nice little rounded extras package there. Not bad, considering it seems to be such a disliked entry into Argento's repertoire. I don't know why. I think it's excellent, and I will definitely watch it again. In fact, I'd really like to watch it with some of my buddies and see what they think of it, because I think they would really enjoy it, knowing their taste in film, as I do. Alrighty, well, I think that's it for today, for now. Well, probably not for today. There'll probably be more videos, because I have tomorrow off. So expect an avalanche of videos over the next couple days. Yeah, so that's Trauma by Dario Argento. I liked it. Maybe you'll like it too. Do I think it's as good as his old stuff? Not quite. There are a few aspects of this that I think are, silly. But overall, I would say it's a perfectly satisfying Argento Giallo film. And the twist is definitely disturbing and shocking, as it should be. Alrighty, that's it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.